Hello there, gang. Again, this is Unit 9, the final section of this course, where we're going to talk about ethics, trade shows, collecting accounts, some of the other miscellaneous things in an ag sales career. So let's get to the content here. First things first, let's talk professionalism. And I asked the question, what would be your definition of professionalism in ag sales or leadership career? And so I would encourage you to take a moment and kind of reflect upon that and think about what, the people that you encounter, whom do you kind of consider, he or she's a real pro at what they do? How do they carry themselves? How do they dress? How do they present themselves? Things of that nature. And so therefore know what your company's professionalism expectations are. Know how they expect you to conduct yourself. Know how they expect you to dress on a day-to-day basis. Know their expectations for communication, both with internally and externally. So really think about, as you get out there, your approach to professionalism. And, as we talked about earlier in the semester, remember that you're almost never off the clock as a salesperson, or even as a leadership person. When they see you out in the community, even though you may be not representing the company, you still represent the company. So it's important to present yourself in this professional manner as appropriate all the time. It's really critical in maintaining success. So let's kind of center on a few different items here. First, let's consider your responsibility to the customer. Always, always, always do your best to serve the customer's best interest. It's really important that you project to the customer that that's what you're always out there for. Customers and prospects are really good at picking up on a fraud. A salesperson that's only there to serve the salesperson and not the customer or the prospect. So look out for ways that your products, your service, your company can benefit the customer or the prospect specifically. When you do that on a day-to-day basis, week to week, year to year, you're going to experience success over the long term. Make sure a customer or prospect understands the facts and the facts as they are. You'll encounter a lot of different things, but don't misrepresent things. And occasionally you're going to find situations where a product or service that you have to offer, or your company just simply isn't a match for a specific customer. But don't fudge the facts in order to make it match. That would not be serving the customer's best interest, nor yourself or your company, and from a professionalism standpoint. The last point on the slide tends to get some furrowed brows and points of discussion typically. And you as a salesperson are not obligated to point out competitive alternatives. So, for example, if I'm out selling a piece of equipment, let's say a tractor, it is not my obligation to point out that John Deere or Case or whomever would be my competitor has a tractor of the same size, same horsepower, same specs. That's a better piece of equipment from someone's opinion. You're not required as a salesperson to point out those competitive alternatives. It's not your job. Your job is to sell your product. And some people will say, well, aren't you just contradicting what you said is the customer's best interest? You are expected to point out your products in the customer's best interest, not your competition's. So don't sell for the competition is really what I'm getting at here. It's the customer's job to research what the alternatives are, not your job to tell them what they are and even somewhat sell them for them. So just understand there's a fine line there that you don't have to cross. It's not required that way. And if a customer or prospect objects to that, just simply state, it's not my job to point out what your alternatives are. That's your job. I'm here to represent my product in the best way possible. I'm doing it in a professional manner. Don't misrepresent or mislead a customer. Don't build expectations that cannot be met. A customer in general really does want to believe you. They do want to think that you are doing what's best for them. So don't violate that trust. Okay? Next, and this is really, really critical here, and maybe one of the most critical points in this whole section, is protect confidences and avoid unauthorized incentives or kickbacks or things that you can't do. So never, ever, ever, I have it bolded and capped here for a reason. Never share information from customer to customer. And we know the coffee shop talk that goes on down the road, from farm to farm or business to business, always occurs. Everyone wants to know what everyone else's business is, or lots of folks do anyway. It is irresponsible of you as a salesperson to leave one farm that you're working with as a customer or prospect and go to the next farm and say, and them ask you a question in terms of what's going on, and you share milk records or financial information or things of that nature. Don't do that. That will get you in trouble eventually. You'll share something that will be of highly private information that you'll violate another customer's confidentiality. And so don't ever violate that. And you will be pushed for it occasionally. People like to know those things for whatever reason. And don't use it as a tool to gain the confidence of another customer. Sometimes they'll almost lead you on like, well, if you really want my business, you'll tell me some of these things and it'll be a source of information for you. And that's just not where you need to be. So don't share information from customer to customer. And don't get into the habit of providing kickbacks or favors and some of those types of things. We talked about sweetening the pot clauses. This goes at least to that point and sometimes beyond, where they're getting special pricing or things of that nature that you may or may not be authorized to do. So be careful with those types of things. So to your company, let's talk about your responsibility there. Remain loyal. It's really important that you do that to the company's policies at all times, even if you don't agree. And it's sometimes going to happen that you disagree with something the company has decided to do or direction they've given you. But it is not a good idea to go out and share that with customers. You're going to undermine your company, which in turn undermines yourself. So be really careful how you profess your opinions on the job for the company when you're out there selling for the company. It's really awkward if you start bashing your own employer in front of a customer. That's a difficult situation that you just put yourself in. So try and support the total marketing effort of the company itself, whether that's market intelligence, meaning you're sharing information on, if you're a feed salesman, sharing information on a customer or prospect that you picked up with your seed salesman that maybe relates to the customer or prospect's agronomy business. Share in forecasting, help with inventory, help do office work, pick up and do your job, do special reports, cooperate in correspondence, support the total effort of the company. All right. So to the public is don't degrade the competition. You're going to occasionally come up across competitors that will say things that are not very flattering about you or your company. They will be willing to play in the mud. Don't get down there with them. I had a situation one time where I had a competing salesperson that was really questioning my ability to do a good job for them on balancing rations. And they were struggling, and they started planting seeds of doubt in terms of I wasn't looking under this rock or testing that water or testing this feed properly, and really degraded our company's reputation, and I eventually lost the account. And I never forgot that in terms of how that salesperson treated me. And I never got down in the mud with them, but I never forgot that. I was always then on my guard whenever that gentleman started calling on one of my accounts. So, and then be informed and uphold regulations. Again, you have legal responsibilities to maintain, even if you disagree. And anytime that you take personal risk, that equals company risk. If you start doing things that are in the gray area of legality that puts yourself at risk, you're also taking the company risk. So, for example, if you stop at the local watering hole and have a few cocktails on your way home from work in the company truck, you're also taking company risk. You might be technically off the clock, but just understand that might be a problem. In terms of responsibility to yourself, just make and take time for personal improvement. You got to get away occasionally. You've got to get to a point where you can relax, have vacation, have time with your family, and honestly evaluate yourself and your abilities. Take time for improvement. Go to conferences when you can. Take professional development when it's offered. Pick up and do opportunities that will help you be a better employee for that company. Make sure that you keep your personal and professional life as separate as you possibly can in the manner that it affects either or. Okay, so don't let one erode the performance of the other. So if you're having a bad time in selling, let's say maybe the fall sales season hasn't gone very well for you, and you've lost maybe a couple key accounts, and things just aren't lining up the way you had hoped. You don't bring that home and let it erode your home life with your spouse or your family. That will only make the problem worse. And on the flip side, if things are going poorly at home, don't bring them to work. Many employers do not want to hear about your home life problems, unfortunately, or you need to find someone that you can talk to about your personal business in the workplace, so that you can get that off your chest, so that you can get your mind right to go do your job appropriately. So try and keep those things from affecting the other one. And if life is all good on both sides, absolutely fantastic. You've got everything under control. We've talked a good bit about working farm and trade shows, and I'm not going to recover all of that as we kind of wind this section down. Just be ready with visitor relations and have what we call a special situation area. You might have a behind the curtain, so to speak, area or a place picked out that if you happen to encounter a customer at a trade show who's really, all of a sudden you've got a selling opportunity right then and there, and you don't want to complete it right in front of everybody, right at the table. Maybe you've got a place picked out where you can go and sit and talk privately with that customer and try and close the sale. And then always, if you get contacts at a trade show, follow up with them. That's what they're there for. You need to touch base with them, see what you can do. Kind of as we get to the end here and talk about complaints and conflicts, don't be defensive and combative. Those things are going to happen occasionally. You're going to have misunderstandings with customers. So really listen carefully, judge for validity of their problem. The reason for the conflict, take good notes, ask very insightful questions in a non-threatening way that a customer feels like you're placing blame back on them. And if you know this coming, prepare very, very carefully and call for help if you need so from a manager or something. Account collection is really difficult because you have to handle it with tact. Consider whether the customer is a desirable customer. But you know the customer best. So your manager is probably, if you have a customer that's 6 months or a year past due on an account, they're probably going to send you out there, or the accounting office is going to send you out there. And I've had many a student say, well, that's not my job. That's their job. That's the manager's job. Yeah, that's a good objection. But the problem is you are the one that has the best relationship with them. So whenever a past due account occurs, be ready to go out and help handle it. Most are going to view that as part of your job, even though it's very uncomfortable. So why do customers not pay? Occasionally you have customers that don't understand the credit terms. You have simply poor managers, don't know where the bills are at. Occasionally you have customers with cash flow problems, and there's certain times of the year that it just takes them to get enough cash compiled in order to pay the bills. It's not that they don't want to. It's just a simple cash flow issue, and you need to be aware of that. You have the fourth category of customers that just want to see how far they can push the supplier before the supplier says anything. We had some customers that were frankly a long way out, past a year out on their feed bill occasionally, but they would keep pushing it just to see how long it would take us to say something, and they would pay just enough to keep the feed truck rolling into the driveway. And then lastly, there are some customers, sadly, that are simply dishonest. So handle those really cautiously. That wraps up this section on ethics, your responsibility to yourself, how to handle it publicly, kind of putting a whole bow on the class, so to speak, in terms of things that we hope will be helpful. Have a great day. Hope this helps.